Week 1 is here. It begins tonight. Actually, you know what? It begins today. During the day. If you wanted a little appetizer, a little bit of a early start to your college football weekend, you're in luck. Some of you may not have paid close enough attention to this to understand or have an idea what's going to happen today, but it's going to be glorious at 4:30 today. 4:30 Central Time. Just as the kids are getting home from school, number 25 Boise State's at South Florida. 4:30, pirate ship in the stadium. Top 25 football team, Greg. You can't beat it on a Thursday afternoon.
And a top 25 football team with playoff aspirations and what I think is a legitimate chance to get beat. We've been talking about this game now for a couple weeks now. I think you and I are both on board. It's not so much of an endorsement of USF's greatness. I think USF could start the season 1-2. And if you look at what they play the next couple weeks, that wouldn't be surprising. But if you really look at what they might be capable of, just might be capable of, could find a scenario where they pull off the upset today. And guess what? Vegas kind of leaning that way too, based on the line movement and the amount of action coming in on the Broncos.
What has it done? What's the line done? Give us an update.
It dropped from 6.5 to 5.5. 6.5's already a sharp number because there are way more tickets on Boise and way more handle on South Florida. Dead indicator that the sharps are taking the Bulls. The public is taking Boise.
And I think you and I have made it really clear the entire offseason that with Byron Brown back at quarterback, think about what the conversation has been like around certain teams this offseason. Let's take Tennessee. All right? What's that going to look like? What we said about Mississippi State maybe having a chance to be better. Why can Mississippi State be better? They got their quarterback back.
Yeah.
Blake Shapen in there, that thing's going to be able to go. What's going to happen to Tennessee? I mean, Joey Aguilar has what? 500-something college attempts? We don't know if he's going to be able to work that thing, manage that thing, how it's going to look. It's the same offense with a quarterback that knows how to run it, and he's back, and he's got weapons around him. His top 3 receivers are back. His offensive line is back intact from a season ago. I'm with you. Just be very careful on this one. That defensive front, we've been able to see it up close and personal the last couple of years. Attacking, movement, physicality. It's all those guys you hated playing against. They're 2 inches shorter, 10 pounds lighter, but they're meaner and nastier and quicker up front. And they're gonna slant. They're gonna give you zero nose. They're gonna move left and right. They're gonna run linebackers through. It's a headache. Yes. They're kind of what Boise used to be. It used to be, but not from a schematic standpoint, but it used to be Boise's going to run the stretch play. They're going to play action you. They're going to come straight off the ball at you on defense, and they do it with such a hard hat manner, there's not a lot you can do about it. And they're just going to hammer you into the ground for 4 quarters.
All that's true. Here's the one thing I would push back on. With the amount of disruption and athleticism they plan on utilizing with the move stuff after the snap, how often can they potentially run themselves out of position just by being overly aggressive? Yes, they might get a couple. Zone they might get a couple TFLs, but they also might give up a couple 70-yard runs. That's my only concern.
Yeah, you're 100% accurate. I just think that when you're Alex Golesh, you look at it from the standpoint of when you're building that program, probably want that to offset some of the difference in size, athleticism, because what do you know you're going to do? Score points. I mean, we're going to score. We're going to have an offense that knows how to score. And they have the personnel on that side of the ball to be able to do it. That's going to be a fun one. Not tonight, this afternoon, 4:30, Boise, South Florida. Get ready for that one. How about our lovely city of Birmingham, Alabama? We got 2 live college football games here tonight. Live tackle, in-person college football games that you can go attend tonight if you want to, if you're so inclined to, if you're so interested in things like that. Go do that. That's how beautiful our city is. That's how wonderful our city is. Alabama State's at UAB, 7:30 tonight, ESPN+. West Georgia at Sanford tonight, 6:30 on ESPN+. Damian Mitchell will be on the call for that one. And then we got Jack State at UCF tonight, 6 o'clock on ESPN+. Coaching debut being made there on both sides of the football. Well, I don't know. Is Frost a debut? How do we what's the correct verbiage for this? Re-debut? Do debut. Debut.
I think you call it a debutante.
Yes, debut.
Debut.
In the South.
Debut.
In the South, it's just a debutante.
And some other ones tonight. Listen, Central Arkansas, Missouri. Okay, the game, probably not. but you're going to split halves with your quarterback, Greg? When was the last time we heard this? I know you rotate series, 2 guys going to play, but one's going to get the first, one's going to get the second.
We saw it actually, ironically, with Alabama 2 years ago when they played South Florida. Buckner got the first half, Ty Simpson got the second half. So we have seen it in the past, but no, this is not something that is often utilized and not something that I would often recommend. You got to do what you got to do, but don't love doing things like this from a quarterback psyche standpoint. But at least you know kind of what you're going to get. You're going to get into a bit of a rhythm, and hopefully that'll help you out.
I was going to ask you, I would almost want to know, okay, I'm coming in here and I'm going to go for that long, and that's going to be it, as opposed to, man, I'm supposed to just take it, and then we'll see. If I had 2 bad series, then what happens? They're going to take me out of the game. I feel like this would at least be a little bit less looking over your shoulder, specifically if you're Bo Prabula and you're going to go in the first half. Nebraska-Cincinnati, we've told you about this one. Just be careful. Be very careful. And they might not be the best matchups, but you do get some bigger brands going tonight, which I think is also going to be exciting. East Carolina, NC State, 6 o'clock on the ACC network. You got that one. UL Monroe has got St. Francis at 6 on ESPN. The only reason I say that is Bama has UL Monroe week 2. So if you wanted to take a peek at what that one might look like, you got a chance to go get that one. Elon at Duke tonight. UT Martin at Oklahoma State tonight. So the Cowboys are going to be in action tonight, and they have named Haas Hingie their starting quarterback. What do you got on Haas? You seen the tape?
No, but actually, talking to the staff a little bit a few weeks back, sounds like he's pretty legit. Now, I have no idea, but I've got a really good relationship with Mike Gundy. We've been close for years. He recruited me out of high school, and he goes, I like my quarterback. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like, really? Interesting. He goes, I like my guy. So he's not one, he'd be like, we got problems there. You know what I mean? Like, he would tell you flat out, at least privately, that might not be a position of strength. I think this Oklahoma State team has a chance to be very interesting. They have been completely reloaded in the portal. I really like their additions at coordinator. Doug Meacham is their OC, and Todd Grantham is their DC. That's a pretty good place to start. Those 2 guys have coached a lot of winning football at the college level, so I'll be and supposedly they've been getting fights at practice, and it's been like spirited, real spirited. So I'm really excited to see this Oklahoma State team because I think they're one that could be flying under the radar significantly and might be a bit of an issue in the Big 12. Don't think they can win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're middle of the pack and pulls off some upsets this year.
Automatic +1 in the win column if you're fighting at practice.
When your OC and DC are run as hot as they do, I like the energy at practice personally. Like, I think I'm a fan. Call me old school. I'm a fan.
I just said it's just +1 in the win column. So there you go.
Oh, so you weren't being facetious. You actually mean that.
No, let's get it. Some people, Buffalo at Minnesota tonight. Steve, that's FS17. Steve F. Austin at Houston. Some people think that folks are sleeping on Houston. They are. They did grab a couple of nice personnel pieces in the portal. Quarterback's got experience. We'll see how that one goes tonight with Stephen F. Austin. Nebraska, Cincinnati, 8 o'clock ESPN. This is one that we have tried to warn you guys. Just tiptoe around this one. That's all we're saying. Just be careful here.
I think Nebraska might have some problems tonight. Just saying. And there's like a sneaky playoff team in some people's eyes. And by the way, I can kind of see it. You know, second-year quarterback.
I was listening to a show this morning that had him in the playoff.
Oh, mama. Second-year quarterback, solid offensive line. Matt Rule, third-year jump. He won 11 at Baylor, 10 at Temple in his third year. I could see him having a good year for sure. But I just think this Cincinnati team, last year Cincinnati was very snake bit. They have a quarterback. They have an offensive identity. They have a dominant defensive tackle. Like, there's some things to like about Cincinnati. So I just think Nebraska, like we've been saying for a while now, they need to be super careful in this game.
That's an 8 o'clock kick on ESPN. Speaking of second-year quarterback, Nebraska's quarterback says you can blame somebody interesting for him acting like Patrick Mahomes.
I can't get mad at God for making me look like him.
That was it? He just...
I can't get mad at God for making me look like him.
You can blame God?
Can't. Can't. Don't do that, Greg. It said don't blame God for making him look like Patrick Mahomes. Is God at fault for the exact impersonation of his pregame routine?
I'm not sure. All I know is that as a man of faith and a staunch Christian, I kind of have some issues with saying things like that. You know, especially with someone that's in the midst of a chronological Bible reading, and I'm currently in Numbers, and a lot of people are challenging God. It wouldn't be, just saying it's just not wise. So yeah, kind of having a hard time with listening to that, to be honest with you, and taking him seriously.
Will Miami have a hard time? That's Ohio, by the way, with Wisconsin tonight. 8 o'clock Big Ten Network. New OC for the Badgers. They go back to kind of what we expect them to be. We will see the stretch play at least 20 times in this game. Do you have any real expectations that are past what a lot of folks do for the Badgers this year?
I think they have the hardest schedule in college football, arguably. I mean, I just think their schedule is entirely too difficult to feel great about them. But I expect them to actually be quite a bit better than a year ago. I like their quarterback. Their quarterback, Billy Edwards, is the real deal. I think he's really good. I love their offensive coordinator. I think this is going to be a good philosophical shift.
Absolutely.
Back to doing what Wisconsin's done traditionally with success. So I'm somewhat optimistic. The only reason why I'll be watching that one on TV3 is because they play Bama in 2 weeks. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
There's another reason to tune into that one. Grimy can get it done. We know that. But it also, you got to have reps together to make that outside zone play go and for the feel to be there and to be a part of it. So we'll see kind of how that one looks. And after Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee, you could make a legitimate argument, Greg, that every game there on out is losable for Wisconsin. Not saying they're going to, but
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Maryland would be the one that you might. Maryland and Minnesota would be the two that you might not pound the table and say can't win that one.
Yeah.
But Bama, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, easily losable games the rest of the way through on that Wisconsin schedule. So yeah, it's up there as one of the most difficult schedules in college football. All right, GMAC's going to be out. We'll come back and talk a little bit more college football, specifically with some news from Kalen DeBoer on an Alabama defender that you may need to hear. Could affect them in the opener, specifically against a team that wants to run the football a little bit. How much of an issue might it be? You don't want your heat and humidity inside your home to be an issue. Don't let it affect your family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Trane cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're your official cooling partner here at Jox. Find a comfort specialist near you at Trane.com. It is hard to stop a train. All right, we'll be back with updates on Alabama's defense next on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Greg out to do television. He'll be back with us intermittently throughout the course of the show today. We'll get to Jordan Kaye here in just a moment, get some updates on South Carolina and maybe why no depth chart for the Gamecocks. But first, we told you we'd update you on Alabama's defense. Kalen DeBoer yesterday asked about defensive tackle Tim Keenan and what his status would be against Florida State.
Yet to be determined. Probably not, but we'll see.
So that's Kalen DeBoer and Tim Keenan. There's been some reporting that Tim will undergo a tightrope procedure now, so that would put him out for the first couple games, maybe first 2, possibly 3. Against Florida State, is it a massive deal? I would tend to say no here. I would say if this were Quay Russaw, Deontay Lawson, I'd be much more concerned. If this were somebody who was going to be off the ball, trying to run down plays that could potentially bounce or design run plays to the perimeter, that I'd be pretty concerned about it. If this were somebody that were going to be playing on the edge of the line of scrimmage often, like an LT Overton, I would be a little bit more concerned. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want him. He's a good football player. He's a great space eater. He's really good at what he does. He's beneficial to keeping those linebackers clean, allowing guys like Lawson and Justin Jefferson to run and make plays. So beneficial, yes, absolutely. But with how Florida State's going to operate, is it as big of a deal? And then, too, like, let's see, if a lot of Norvell stuff is in there, that's primarily going to be your gap scheme runs where one guy's blocking back and then the guard or tackle to that direction is going to be pulling around. You're not as valuable there. Now, I know you can kind of push them back into the puller and you can sort of reroute the puller, and that can force issues with where that run's going to maybe bounce or have to cut back inside, or it takes longer to get going. All those things can help. There's not going to be a ton directed right at him in this game. So I don't think it's a massive loss. One you'd still like to have. Once again, we talk about reps in practice. I bet Tim Keenan's got a lot of first-team reps in practice this offseason. So, therefore, he would be the one that was the most ready. And now Jeremiah Beeman, whoever else is going to be next, is going to have to get those. Let's go to Jordan Kaye on the Higginbotham hotline. Talk a little South Carolina football. Beamer says yesterday didn't release a depth chart because your guess is as good as his, and they just kind of have to work it out. How real is that, Jordan, as to sort of where this South Carolina football team is right now?
I don't think it's real. I think this is one of those 2025 things where coaches don't want to release a depth chart, and then people and parents and agents get pissed off and everyone is yelling at him. I think this is a way, he kind of said it yesterday, this is a way of avoiding massive overreactions. And I kind of get it. And when you start looking at some of these depth charts across the country that have 34 oars in them, it's like, I don't know if that's better than just not releasing one.
What would be the biggest surprise for you or for fans if a depth chart was released as far as somebody who was maybe towards the top or lower than expected?
I think there's a chance for the third straight year that South Carolina is starting a true freshman at the offensive line. There's kind of a lot of buzz right now that Shed Surratt, a big-time prospect, is going to get one of the 2 starting offensive guard spots, and I think that would kind of be a really big surprise just from, what we've heard about this South Carolina offensive line recruiting the last couple of years, and Shed's a guy that they've mentioned a little bit, but it's not like he's been a Dylan Stewart type where you knew he's been starting for 6 months.
That would honestly, Jordan, that would have to put South Carolina towards the top of the SEC from an offensive line depth perspective. Just because you'd be taking so many guys that have played that, even I'm not saying that they're all 5-star starters at any program, first-round draft picks, but just the amount of guys who have meaningful playing time, even started, that are now probably not going to be first-teamers. There wouldn't be many teams that could have that on their roster like the Gamecocks would.
No, and you really got to get the coaching staff credit for retaining a lot of these guys. You look at someone like Tree Babalade, who comes in as a true freshman 2 years ago, gets 9 starts at left tackle, then gets beat out by a 5-star offensive tackle in Josiah Thompson, almost like hardly doesn't play at all last year and doesn't leave. He sticks around, says, hey, I'm going to move to guard, And there's a chance he's just kind of, waiting in the wings again this year as a one of those depth pieces for South Carolina. So, you talk about how much teams lose depth in the NIL era. South Carolina has somehow found a way to avoid that even a little bit, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah, they'll put Marquis Anderson, maybe Carson Henry, maybe a couple of the guys that have really played now second teamers, maybe Shivers those guys could potentially start at some lower tier SEC schools or other group of 4 schools. And that'd be impressive.
Yeah, no doubt.
What are you hearing at tight end? I've seen Jordan Dingle at Kentucky. I know what he is. He's not going to be near as loose as what they have with Joshua Simon, but he's pretty good in line. He's a really nice mix of helping you in the pass game, just physical enough to help you in the run game. But that position was different for them last year, and it's been very beneficial the last couple of years, actually, even though it hadn't been like a 80 target position. But it's one that I really could help Lenore Sellers out. What are your thoughts on that position heading into the opener against Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I think that's one where last year we saw them running a lot of 2 tight end sets, and Brady Hunt was kind of hey, you're going to help out blocking for either the freshman Josiah Thompson or get on Casey Henry's hip and help him out. And then Josh Simon ended up basically just becoming a wide receiver for them. I mean, was by far their best pass catcher. And so you start looking at their roster this year, and they've got a sophomore in Michael Smith. And I think that's someone, if you're looking for someone who could jump into that Simon role as a pass catching tight end, I think he's the guy. And then you've got Brady Hunt and Jordan Dingle, who can catch passes, but like you're saying, are going to be really good blockers. So I think there's a good chance you see all 3 of them play a lot this season. And I don't rule out that Mike Shula is also follows in Dowell Loggins' playbook a little bit and runs a lot of 2 tight end sets.
We're visiting with Jordan Kaye. He covers the South Carolina Gamecocks. They'll open it up Sunday night against Virginia Tech in Atlanta. All right, quarterback room. We know Lenore Sellers. I do want your thoughts on how his camp has gone, what you've heard. But Luke Doty enters his 22nd year in college. And if Air Noland was going almost anywhere else, he would be the conversation. Just because of his hype coming out of high school and what people think he can be and maybe his name. And that would have been all over the place. And I've heard almost nothing about him. That could be a good thing, actually. Just give us your thoughts on Sellers' camp and then the quarterback room after him.
First of all, I haven't heard a bad thing yet about Sellers' camp. It's been all positive reviews. It seems like Mike Shula has really been a good voice for him in Sellers understanding, hey, when a pass play is called, we should try and throw a pass. Let's make sure our footwork is great, and you need to trust your arm enough that if a window opens up, let it rip. And so he seems like he has grown into a passer, and, Mike Shula, as much as anyone, is trying to find ways to dial up, design quarterback runs for Lenore's to get him involved. So I'm excited to see kind of the strides he's made. I think you're really going to see it in the passing game, especially with some of the receivers they have around him. Then a backup QB, I mean, it's crazy. Like the Air Noland thing is wild. It was such a big deal when they got him. And I think maybe it's not as crazy of a deal as because he came in and you knew he wasn't going to beat out Lenore's. And even he just was so mature and gave such great quotes of, hey, I'm just coming here to learn. I'm not trying to win the starting job yet. I'm just coming here to learn and whatever. So that was really mature of him. I think, most people in his situation would have just gone somewhere where they can start. And I mean, there's even a chance, right now he's competing for the QB3 spot with Cutter Woods and they haven't announced anything. So, I mean, there's a chance he's like QB4, which would be crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll end up probably being QB3, but yeah, it is kind of crazy that, Luke Doty beat out, the true freshman and Aaron Nolan. This is a guy who basically hardly played last year, was transitioned to wide receiver and was just kind of a special teams dude. And he was coming back to school and you're like, what is he going to do? And they threw him in the quarterback room, and just a really smart, knowledgeable guy who has, former like 4-star quarterback, picks up the offense well and just runs it exactly how Mike Shula wants. And so they're like, yeah, if Lenorth goes down, we feel most comfortable about Luke Doty running the offense.
Careful with the wide receiver there. That's a stretch. I understand where he lined up a couple times, but let's let's be really careful there. I don't believe that there was any real intention of him winning many routes off the football, but nonetheless,
okay,
he gives you value.
Yeah.
He gives you value, and if you have to turn a game over to a guy for a quarter, up 3 on the road, you would think that that'd be the way that you'd probably want to go. All right, quickly on defense, Jordan, I haven't been as concerned because Monkel Goodwine has played big-time football. Nick Barrett's been around there a little bit. Brownlow Dindy's been around a little bit. Brian Thomas is a little lighter, but he's been in there. We've seen him off the edge, what he can do some. We know Dylan Stewart. You may upgrade your overall ability in Murphy. And then, you go to the secondary. I know Nicky Monroe's gone, but we've been calling Judge Collier, Jalen Kilgore, DQ Smith's name for years now. Those guys have all been there, and they all move around. They all cross-train a little bit. So I feel like I'm the only one on earth that's not super concerned about South Carolina's defense. Maybe I just have that much confidence in Clayton White. How much of a step back do you anticipate this defense takes? I'm not saying it's better than last year, but how big of a step back should folks anticipate it takes?
I think a little. I think I'm right with you. You look at that entire back end of the defense, and all those guys mostly have played football for South Carolina. And if they haven't played football for South Carolina, like Brandon Cissay's started games in the ACC for a couple of years. So yeah, you start looking at the entire secondary, tons of experience there. They talk about this kid at linebacker, Fred J.R. Johnson, like he is the next dude. And do not worry about anything. He was kind of behind that Demetrius Knight, Debo Williams, Martin Scott, three-headed linebacking core last year. Just didn't play, but they have no reservations about him. I'm curious a little bit about, what does Sean Murphy and that Justin O from Alabama bring at linebacker? Can one of them be, 80, 90 tackle guy and do they grasp Clayton White's defense great yet? I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm with you on the defensive tackles. The more I kind of talk to myself about it, it's like, hey, Nick Barrett's been out here a long time. Monkel Goodwine had incredible reviews this spring and into the fall. Same with Gabriel Brownlow Dindy, who is just a absolute wrecking ball. And you watch him walk around with the defensive tackles, and just that he looks different. The big question I think right now is that edge opposite Dylan Stewart. You mentioned Brian Thomas Jr. had 4.5 sacks last year, been around a while, but they're already really down on their, depth at that position. They've lost 3 guys, and it's kind of unclear if those are season enders or if it's going to be a couple weeks. So that's a big question mark because after Brian Thomas Jr., it gets a little thinner for them. They've got Desmond Umazulu, who's incredible build and really rangy, but just hasn't played a whole lot for South Carolina. And they have a couple freshmen who they like, but I don't know necessarily the plan was to throw them in right away. So I'm curious about the depth at that position, but if you're going into a season only kind of concerned about like 1 or 2 spots on your defense, you're right. It's like I don't think this is going to be the worst defense in the SEC or anything crazy like that.
For sure. Jordan, great stuff, man. Thanks for taking time with us today. We appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. Enjoy opening weekend.
Appreciate you, Cole. Thank you. Have a good one. There
you go. Jordan Kaye on the Higginbotham Hotline covers the South Carolina Gamecocks. Some updates there before they battle Virginia Tech on Sunday. Oh, goodness, this weekend is going to be great. Virginia Tech, South Carolina, 2 o'clock on ESPN on Sunday. So you're going to have 2 o'clock the rest of the day, college football on Sunday. Obviously, we start at 4:30 today. We're going to get a game Monday night. Saturday is going to be jam-packed. We started off with Texas, Ohio State at 11. Goodness. It's Notre Dame, Miami. Greg's going to be on that one Sunday night, 6:30 on ABC. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, folks. Not to mention the weather's going to be nice. So get ready, get set, and be right there ready to make it happen, kind of like Game Day Men's Health can help you make it happen. If you have brain fog, if you're feeling on edge, if you're lacking energy, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. If you're lacking sleep, they can help you with that as well. Just go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today, fill out the free consultation. You're going to get to go in, get a free PSA test, free testosterone test, and then have a consultation with a professional to let you know maybe what be going on and how they can help you and what your issues might be and how they can get you straightened out. They have multiple programs, from weight loss programs, peptides, testosterone replacement. They're going to get you back feeling good about yourself. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today and see what they can do for you. And do not forget, when you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, if you're like Pat Smith and you live in Trustville, that office is now open. Office open in Trustville. So you don't have to drive all over town if that's where you stay. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go see what they can do for you. Office in Trustville is open. Minimal upfront costs from the programs that they offer. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. We talk more college football next on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Thursday, August 28th, right here on Jox. Going to get back to talking some college football here in just a moment. But first, I want to let you know that Jox 94.5 and Total Sports Travel are giving you the chance to see Auburn take on Oklahoma. Live in Norman, one lucky winner will score a trip for two. That's a round-trip airfare, a two-night stay at the National Hotel in Oklahoma City, 2 tickets to watch the Tigers and Sooners, and transportation to and from the stadium. Text the keyword Tigers to 205-834-9450 to enter today. Text Tigers to 205-834-9450 to enter now. Don't miss your shot at the ultimate game day experience, courtesy Total Sports Travel and your home for college football, Jox 94.5. Contest rules at joxfm.com. All right, we heard from Kalen DeBoer a little bit earlier in the show discussing Tim Keenan, and a potential tightrope surgery and him having that. G-Mac, your thoughts on how big of a loss that could be for the Crimson Tide against Florida State?
Yeah, it's significant. And I heard about this ankle injury a couple days ago. I was hoping that it wouldn't result in tightrope and that it wasn't a high ankle and that it wouldn't limit him. But unfortunately, it is what it is. However, we've now known that we have a renowned orthopedic surgeon here in the Birmingham area with Andrews and Norm Waldrop, who has revolutionized the tightrope procedure. And I think that there's not a person in the world I'd rather have it done with than him. So the prognosis and the likelihood of return here as soon as humanly possible is high. If you're going to get it now and get it done, because you're really going to be needed starting with the Georgia game. So unfortunate that he's not going to be available more than likely for the next 3 weeks, but I think these are teams that you can potentially overcome, because I don't know if you need a big 335-pound run stopper in the middle against any of the next three opponents. I think you need more speed and athleticism, and I think they can kind of put that on the field with what they're going to see the next couple weeks.
It's kind of where I went is, yes, he does give protection to those linebackers off the ball, being able to roam and go find some of those plays on the perimeter. But this is not necessarily a north-south run team that's going to go right at you in between the A-gaps, and Tim Keenan's going to have a massive impact on 85% of the plays. So if you were going to lose him for a bigger game on the schedule, I think this is one that would probably be one that would allow for less impact. You want him in there because he's gotten the reps and he's your guy. He knows the defense and he's a good football player. But
he's a leader.
Yes, but this isn't the end of the world for Alabama in this game. Kalen DeBoer, just on exactly what happened to his defensive tackle.
Yeah, he had a lower body injury. And again, a lot of it's always kind of figured out, after practicing, honestly. Gathered information still in the moment I'm in right now. Is trying to understand exactly where it's at. So our staff is unbelievable. They have done some pretty impressive things on getting guys back, and so waiting for the update on that. I don't know if I can even give you a percentage and be confident on that. So we'll see, but it is a lower body injury.
All right, so that's the update on Tim Keenan, and so he'll be out. And weather looks like it could be a little bit of an issue in this game also, G-Mac. Does that change your thoughts on any part of sort of just you got to go do television? You're good. Don't worry about it. I shouldn't have asked you the question there.
Doesn't impact me in this one. If anything, it being slightly cooler, potential rain, not the end of the world, especially when thinking about the tempo that Gus Malzahn would likely utilize in week one, how that could be problematic. So, no, I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All right. We'll go to break, come back with more college football next on Jox. Some other injury concerns for in-state teams we'll get to here in just a moment. 800-239-9569. The week one of college football kicks off today at 4:30. And if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what else does. We also have 2 live tackle college football games in the city of Birmingham tonight. 2 that you can go to and check out for yourself if you want. If that doesn't get the juices flowing, I just don't know what does. Also, tomorrow night, it looks as though we have a waiver that has been announced by Fox and YouTube TV that could potentially get us through the weekend. So they've been taken off injured reserve, and they're now game time decision on whether or not you're going to get not only Auburn Baylor, but keep in mind, that would also affect Texas at Ohio State Saturday morning. Just throwing those out there for you because you might need them, and those might be things you're interested in. Hugh Freeze yesterday giving an update on wide receiver Eric Singleton and his status against Baylor.
I think he's going to play. I think he's not 100%, but getting better every day. So, hopefully with more treatment today, tomorrow, and all through the day Friday, he'll be close to being full speed. That's our hope. He's not quite there yet, but definitely is healthy enough to try to play.
You go through a season a lot of times, and you're never 100%. You never feel as good as you could. And that might be where Eric Singleton is for this season, but I promise you that Eric Singleton is going to play. And I promise you that Eric Singleton is going to be impactful for this game. Now, where those reps go after that, how those are spread out, I think depends on if there's a portion of this that maybe lingers or is more aggravating and limits his actual reps in the game. But I think, number one, you want him on the field for that defense to pay attention to because you're going to move him, and he's going to be in different spots. But could that mean maybe Malcolm Simmons gets some run inside and he becomes a little bit more of a move guy? Probably. Maybe. Bryce Kane, possibly. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I think he'll play. I think you'll see him go. I think you might get some 2-back where he doesn't have to be a part or he's in the backfield, he motions out. And I think on the flip side of that, you have other targets that you can utilize, that you can take advantage of. But they need Eric Singleton on the field to win the game. They might not need 12 catches or even 12 touches, but they need him on the field to win the game. And how he maybe impacts special teams, if that's been removed, subtracted from what he's going to do and what he is, fine. But you need him offensively to go out there and win the football game. And I think he'll be effective enough on the field for enough time to be able to give Auburn that. So that matchup with Baylor obviously is one that we've spent a lot of time on. We've discussed it. We've run it into the ground. And it's one that I think Auburn has some clear advantages. I think they have some clear disadvantages. We'll go max ball on this one tomorrow. Give you all of our thoughts leading into it that evening. But I think it's a critical game for the Auburn edge defenders, number one. When you look at how they're going to be able to slow down the stretch play that I think stays a part of this offense. I think running the ball to the perimeter is going to continue to be a part of this offense. And it's more of some air raid concepts that are now going to be coming in. But that's something that they've done and done well for a while that I know they don't want to get away from. So Keldrick Falk, Kieran Crawford, who I've heard has had a great camp. Guys like that out on the edge are going to have big games. Chris Murray, Amaris Williams. You've got to stop that play from being what they can build around and allow everything else to get going. You got to spike that thing at the edge and force it to bounce or force it to cut earlier than they wanted to. You have to make those backs be less decisive in where they're going to go and what their track is. You have to reroute that thing. Because if that play gets going, all of a sudden now Sawyer Robertson with some new pass concepts that are going to be implemented is going to have a chance to make some plays down the field, and he's going to have a lot more time to do it. The good news is the Auburn secondary feels like a strength going into the season. Feels like a group that I know a lot of folks are really excited about, what certain guys have done and what maybe certain guys can become in this defense. So if you can lean on the secondary a little bit more, maybe all of a sudden now that's an extra body or two that could be there for the stretch player. You got alley defenders that are coming up and be able to help make a play, do something different. But I've heard good things about multiple players in that secondary for Auburn through camp. So could that be a situation that you have some confidence down the field? You're able to dedicate more bodies to the line of scrimmage to slow down that stretch play, but that's one thing that's got to stop. It has to, or else it unlocks the rest of the offense. Doug in Moundville wants to chime in on the Higginbotham Hotline, talk college football this weekend. Welcome in, Doug.
Hey, Cole. I want to get your thoughts on Kentucky this weekend. Should they be on upset alert against Toledo? It looks like, Zach Calzada as quarterback could be kind of shaky for the guys, and then not really going to be a great start if Mark Stoops drops this one.
No, but I'll say this. They're, at least from what I've seen, and since I've been going to Lexington 7 or 8 times a year, it feels like they are a notorious slow starter. Multiple games, actually one that they lost, that they shouldn't have been close, shouldn't have been tight, should have been competitive that were, and you kind of mess around a little bit and let a team stay in it, and then you got to go find a way to win it. Zach Calzada can operate in this offense, mainly because he's got a huge arm. And a lot of the things that we just said about what Baylor's going to do, that offense falls off from the same tree. It's that Boise App State offense that Bush Hamden runs. So you're going to stretch, trying to get the ball going. You got some backs that can put a foot in the ground and get north and south. I actually like the running back room. I have no idea what this offensive line is going to look like. No idea. I know Eric being back with the offensive line, they're going to have some mean and have some nasty, and he's going to get after him. But if they can get the stretch going and get some play action shots, you got a couple guys that can attack the football, I think offensively they have a chance to find their way. Just don't put the game in his hands early. Establish the run early. I think you kind of, this is going to sound crazy, but you kind of want to slow this game down just a little bit, because one thing we do know, Jason Candle team's going to be able to score. And you got a couple guys on this team, specifically in tight end Jacob Peterson and CeCe Ezram, that physically can make some things happen, and you don't want to give them an opportunity to allow their offense to get extra snaps. So there's a lot back for Toledo, though, and it's a dangerous game because Candle's a good coach, and they got a ton of experience on that side of the ball. And if Calzada turns it over, you might be in trouble. Greg and I have said it for weeks now. We have no idea what to expect from Kentucky. Probably the biggest question mark in the league heading in. But I do think, G-Mac, that Zach Calzada, with his ability to push the ball down the field in that Bush Hamden offense, if they get any semblance of a run game going, there are going to be shots there for him to take, and there'll be opportunities for explosive plays. It's just that offensive line's got to help the backs find a way to run the football first.
Yeah, and I think this is a very dangerous game. There's no denying that. But what I will say, and I said this when Zach Calzada got to Auburn, the guy is really, really talented. Like, he throws a beautiful football. He's got a big arm. And you got to help me out, because I think that when he went to IWU last year and in the last 2 years and kind of revitalized his career and gained the confidence necessary to now take it back to the next level, I think that's massive, because I'm not going to compare the IWU run to what Bo Nix did at Auburn. But sometimes you just need a fresh start. You kind of need to go off the grid a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think that that's what happened for Zach Calzada the last couple of years. Now he's ready to take it back into prime time in the SEC. I'm just hoping he's a better player. But they still have to show and prove to me that they can pound the football again. Like, they keep telling about how they're going to be more rugged. They're going to get back to doing it the way they always did it, being physical. Like, can the offensive line do that, Cole? You would know better than I.
Don't know, though. I don't know. I just said it before you hop back on. I don't know what to expect from this group. Now, I think that's what they want to be. And actually, I haven't really heard Kentucky say it much. I've kind of put those words in their mouth just because I think that that's where they want to go. And then you look at some of the guys that they're bringing in, like a Kendrick Law. I think kind of being a team that wants to beat you up is more what they want to be. Can Jagger Burton play? Can Joshua Braun play? Yeah, they're fine. They're solid. I'm not saying that they're going to be unbelievable. Shiaz Pete, watched his film. I think he's a guy at New Mexico State that had a little bit of that physicality, had a little bit of that attitude. Somebody that I'm not going to say he's super clean and pass pro, but this isn't a group that I expect to be taking, 21 7-step drops in this game either. So you got a bunch of bar bouncers in here. You kind of go back to being a little bit like those Fresno teams that we fell in love with a couple of years ago and just say, hey, we might not be the most nimble. We might not be the most athletic, but we want to be the team that you would least like to fight. And stylistically, this day and age, you can make some ground with that. You can find your way with that. It's just you can't be that team and turn the ball over and give up some explosives. And Brad White's defense hasn't done that a ton. And maybe that's the part too that we should spend a little bit more time on. Is you got Josiah Hayes, you got Khalil Saunders up front, you got some guys that have been there. Davin Rainer's played in this defense. Alex Safari played safety and linebacker in this defense. Jordan Lovett's been there forever in the secondary. So there are guys that know the defense, guys that have made plays in this defense. Same thing I just said about the offense, Greg. Doesn't mean they're super twitchy. Doesn't mean they're the fastest group. It does help having Afari down closer to the line of scrimmage, though. And maybe this will just be kind of that hard-nosed, hold you at the point of attack defense. Don't miss a ton of tackles. Get the ball carried to the ground. Find a way to find some turnovers. Don't give up explosives. If it all plays into the same style of fight, then that does give Kentucky a chance to improve a little bit. It's just we haven't seen a lot of these guys together play that style of game very often and be successful with it.
The big problem with Kentucky is I think in order for their defense to be as good as they've been at times in the last decade, they got to be a ball control offense. Like they got to take the air out of the football. They got to shorten the game. They don't have the depth and the talent profile that some of the teams that they have on their schedule have. So they're going to have to go toe-to-toe and be rugged. Here's the problem. Think about the teams that they're facing. How many of those teams have also adapted to become more rugged this season? We know Florida has. Like we know Florida's going to be a rugged outfit. Like look at the rest of Kentucky's schedule. Like okay, can they potentially give Ole Miss some problems next week? Maybe. Because Ole Miss is breaking in some new pieces, but will they be able to score with Ole Miss if their defense isn't up to the task? Like that's my concern. I think they need it to go a certain way to win. They're a little bit like the Iowa of the SEC, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it has to be super complementary, and if they can't run the football, they won't be able to defend as well as you want them to defend. I think they won't give up big plays, but they might give up a decent amount of intermediate throws like they have in the past. That's the one area that has been exploited at times in the last couple of years.
Here's what they need, in my opinion. Obviously, we can talk about Calzada not turning the football over, but I know when Jamori Macklin was at Missouri, and some of what I watched from him at North Texas, he can make plays. It didn't happen last year. J.J. Hester's got juice. Hasn't consistently made plays at OU or Missouri. They thought Hardley Gilmore was going to help them last year. If they can just get 25% more from that group, 30% more than they have been getting or have seen, maybe that's enough explosiveness to sort of help in the screen game and give them some things down the field to where they can be the team that we're talking about and still have a little extra juice. More college football talk as we open it up tonight, week 1 on Jox.